And today, before we get started, I would like to just throw a big shout out of gratitude to everybody at Warrior Garden Studios, all my mentors, people in recovery who have taught me, so much in life, this new life that I'm living. And, today I'm very grateful for all the people who have pitched in to help show me a better way to live. And I have a special guest today on my show. It's my wife, Sammy Daniel.
Hi, everybody.
We've been doing coffee and recovery with Sammy and Sean at the house. And so today we decided to come into the studio and do a show with y'all. And Sammy, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sammy Daniel.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Today we want to talk about just like gratitude and how important it is to, you know, be grateful for what we have in life. And I know it's kind of hard to look at sometimes, and a lot of times we have to do like these self inventories, these gut checks on a daily basis. I could think back to when I was in my addiction. I never really did inventory checks, and there's no wonder why my life was so chaotic.
Mm.
I never really took the time to explore my feelings, to reflect on my past, to really see where my behaviors were leading me, and how am I feeling. But like lately, I've been in situations to where it's like, okay, like I got to do gut checks. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so Sammy, tell me a little bit about what I'm saying, your road to recovery, yeah, and how those self inventories, those gut checks help you on a daily basis.
Well, I have, I never, I was like you. Before recovery, I did not know how to check myself. I didn't know what to look for. I didn't, I didn't even think about triggers, or what would set me off. I just pretty much flew by the seat of my pants in whatever was happening. And I never really, I set goals, but I never really reflected back on my day or the leading into the day either. So being in recovery has taught me that now I check myself like all throughout the day. Where I fall short is at the end of the day, I'm not checking myself to see how like I I need to get better at that. Like, do I owe an amends? Did I handle this situation? Unless I'm talking to you, sometimes you like bring it out or whatever and like call me out on my stuff. And I appreciate it. I really do. It helps me. It helps me grow. It helps me be a better person. But I'm noticing that I'm not doing that for myself as much at the end of the day. Now, during the day, I'm checking myself all the time because sometimes, feelings come up or a situation takes hold and I'm like, why am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? If that's not it, then, what's really going on? Like what's happening here? Or sometimes I get too high too. I'll be like really, really excited and over the top nervous or whatever. And I'm like, okay, now why? Why is this happening? What's the cause of this? And I try to breathe pretty deep, and think about it for a minute and self reflect on like what's really, really going on. And in doing this, I have learned so much more about myself. Would you say that you have learned by doing self inventory, you've learned more about yourself?
Well, so like, as a matter of fact, I did a self inventory on myself last night, and I realized something that
Oh,
I'm OCD.
oh, really?
Yeah,
You
and
just
I always thought
noticed.
that like OCD was like that disorder where you just wanted to clean everything and you were a germ freak, but
Right.
that's not
That's not
OCD at all.
necessarily it.
It's
Yeah.
it's obsessive behavior. You know what I mean? Like it's doing irrational things, obsessing about events or what's going
Mm,
on in your life, and I tend to hit that replay button over and over and over, and like I did it really bad last week,
yes.
and I accomplished very little, and I'm kind of upset with myself about it because Like I let a certain situation like really dictate my whole week.
Yeah, I got
You
caught
know
up
what I
in that
mean?
as well.
And like I obsessed over it,
Mm.
and it's weird because I never thought I was OCD, and if I
Right?
wouldn't have looked back on it and go like, why am I tripping out on this so bad? You know that I started researching it, and it just popped in my head. I'm like, maybe I'm OCD. 'Cause I thought it was PTSD.
Right.
You know, because I have PTSD too, and you know, PTSD is when you obsess about past experiences.
Right.
And OCD is when you obsess about future things that haven't happened yet. So it's a fear of the unknown, basically. You obsess about what could happen or what might happen, you know. And then I started learning about the correlation between OCD and addiction,
Yeah.
you know, which really makes a lot of sense
It
because I when I go back again, doing an inventory on my past, reflecting on my past, a lot of the times I would use is because I'm trying to escape thoughts and things going on in my head that I couldn't escape, you know, that I would just obsess about and turn into a reality in a very negative way.
Absolutely. I used to call that future tripping.
Yeah, it's
Like
exactly what it is. Future tripping.
I was real bad about future tripping a lot, and I could I could create some scenarios in my head that were just off the chain, like out there, you know? And to me it was real.
Yeah.
But it was obsessing over nonsense, you know? Like just future tripping like no other. And today, like that situation last week, like that was PTSD for me. Like that hit hard. And it did it I froze. Like I couldn't move over it for a minute, you know, and it messed with me. And I really, really had to struggle and strive to get past it, because when I freeze up like that, I can't think, I can't move. I want to hide, you know, I or fight, or destruct something, you know, to make destructive behavior. And so I had to really work hard, and I was basically taking inventory of myself and like, okay, what can I do? What can I fix? What can I change? What do I not have any kind of control over? And I had to talk myself through that all week long. And it took that long. Like, obviously we didn't get much done.
Anything done.
Anything. And I could kick myself, but I'm really glad in a way that it happened, because I learned something from it. Like to really pay attention to how something affects you, because I wasn't expecting that. And it was out of the blue, something from our past, and it was traumatic. And I hadn't really, I guess, addressed it. So now I feel more secure in, okay, if this situation pops up again, like I feel more comfortable with the fact that, okay, I can breathe through this. This is what I can control. This is what I can't control. This is what I can do. This is what I don't need to do. I dang sure need to stay in the right frame of mind and spiritually connected.
Oh yeah, and it's like, you know, the spirituality part of it. Like, so I focus a lot of my life today on you know, focusing on God's will and what God has planned for me.
Right.
And what's been really hard for me is, you know, in 25 years of addiction, I had to control everything.
Absolutely.
You know, I was greedy. I would obsess over materialistic things.
Mm-hmm.
I would obsess over control. You know, and the more I obsessed of it, the less I actually had of any of it.
Yeah.
You know, but like I noticed that when I am not doing an inventory, when I'm not making sure that, you know, my goals or my hustle, so to speak, is in alignment with God's hustle, like I'm not spiritually fit at that point. Like
Right.
I'm not working my mind, body, and soul. I'm not finding that balance. And like just going back to what happened last week, I didn't open my prayer book at all that whole week. And I noticed that yesterday, and it kind of upset me because I was like, I felt kind of like I slapped God in the face a little bit, because
I felt the
I've
same way.
really tried hard to stay in prayer,
Right.
and stay in touch with God. And like last week, I just didn't. I didn't at all. I went right back into a selfish um,
Mentality.
mentality. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Where I wanted to impose my will. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to force the situation, and the result of that was I got nothing done. Thank God nothing happened. But
Right.
it's so it's a way to really monitor progress, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And with recovery being a lifelong process,
I've-
you know what I mean? Like those daily reprieves, those daily inventories are really important.
Yes,
Yeah.
and one thing that I noticed was the once I remembered, because I like I said, I can spin out of control. Once I remembered what's been working, Sammy, what is it that you need to do to get back to what was working? And so then I took those steps, and they were baby steps. And of course, one of them right off the bat, I was telling myself, well, you're not in touch with God right now. Like you've totally just put him on the shelf and you're ready to go, smash stuff and do all kinds of stuff. And so I started taking those baby steps to get back to what I knew really did work. And I just kind of lost my train of thought
Yeah,
for a
it's well
second.
no, but it's crazy cuz like when you think about, you know, the serenity prayer.
Yes.
God grant me the serenity to accept
Accept
the
the
things
things
I
I can,
cannot change, the
courage
courage to
to
change
change
the
the
things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Mm.
There's so many times that we put God on the shelf,
Yes.
and I'm notorious for doing that throughout my
Mm.
whole life. I'm very new to having a relationship with God, and I'm very thankful that I found it. You know, but it's something I'm still trying to cultivate, I guess.
Yes.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so, and I still have a habit of trying to, put my will in front of his. I want it now.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stop from trying to put my fingers into everything.
Right. And it happened like that fast. Like we
But when
got
I
some
do
news and
that,
then boom.
everything falls apart, and
Oh
it falls
yeah.
apart very fast. And then I'm stuck there, and here's my OCD kicking in. I'm
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed, and I'm panicked, and I'm in anxiety, and
Exactly.
depression starts taking over. And it's like, once you start, it's cool when you find a balance to everything, and you can maintain that balance. But then, like, once something goes out of whack, like
Whew,
everything becomes like super overwhelming, and it's like, okay, now I got to go
dude.
see a psychiatrist, and now I
Right.
got to bug
I'm
my
losing my
mentors and blow
mind.
them up, and go to meetings, and I got to start irritating people because I don't have the answers to my
Right.
problems because I ignored it. And now I got to
Mm.
deal with it all in one big shot.
I know I felt extremely grateful once I started taking those baby steps. That's what I lost my train of thought on. That I was able to come back to what I knew worked, come back to God, come back to letting His will be done. And I had to chant that in my head, like,
Yeah, let go
Your
and
will,
let God.
yes,
Let
Your
go
will
and
be
let
done,
God.
Lord. Your will be done. Your will be done. Take this from me. Like I just it was I was filled with gratitude because I was like, okay, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this all by myself. He's got this. I forgot he's got this, and now I can give it. And it was a relief to give it back to him,
Oh yeah.
and get back to what I know, and that's to let him take care of things. Let vengeance be his. It's going to work itself out. Even when it's not okay, people, it's going to be okay. It's just we got to take a minute. We got to get back to what works. And if you don't know what works, we got to figure out what does work.
Well, and it's like if there's something you can't change in life,
Right.
there's something that is out of your control.
Mm,
I think, especially for a lot of addicts, we obsess over that.
we do.
We want that instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
We want that self satisfaction. Because we spent so much time seeking that and not getting it because we put these outrageous expectations on ourselves that are impossible.
Right.
And like we put these huge like self glorified goals up there and have no idea how we're gonna go about doing
Obtaining
it.
them. Yeah.
At some point, you just got to let God work, and I think that's why we don't see a lot of miracles anymore.
Right.
In life is because like we don't give God the opportunity to work in our lives anymore.
No.
We want to control it all.
That's right. And the control is like we're when you and it's not easy to give up control when you've been, like you said, 25 years of controlling this and that, and I probably had the same amount in a different way, different scenario, but like I remember trying to uh manipulate a situation so that, I could get the outcome that I wanted from different people, so that it worked in my favor. And that's I didn't realize that I did that so much in its control. It's wanting to control everything around. And I remember not I have the hardest time asking for help. It's just been since I've been in recovery that I have actually learned to ask for help, because I have always been the type that's just, I'll do it myself. I'll pick myself up, dust myself off, and we're moving on, and I'll handle it myself. And it's basically control when you've done that for so many years, to rewire yourself to trust in God, take your hands off of it, um, believe in a power greater than you that can restore everything that you are thinking of and needing and wanting. And it's not an easy road to take, but it is a very, very rewarding road once you figure out how to go about doing that.
Yeah, trust is big.
Yes.
I know in my addiction, I couldn't trust people, and it was so weird because like I would have relationships with people where we would consider each other friends, but then like we'd still screw each other over.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And but we do it with a smile on our face and like, that's the game. You know what I'm saying? You left yourself open. Like you got tagged, you know what I mean? And we just we go back to being friends the next day. Okay, well, next week I got you,
Yeah.
And so like with that, like those conditional friendships, you know what I'm saying? Like those friendships that, you have that, they're going to get you on the back end.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's coming. So you're always with that mentality that you're set up for failure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because somebody's going to get you sooner or later. You're always trying to hide stuff. You're always trying to. It's a life of dishonesty in almost every way. If you have money, you don't want to let nobody know you. I mean, it's just if you have things, people always want it. People are always going after it. And I in recovery, like it's really cool. Okay, in my addiction, I had a lot of stuff. I had a lot of stuff. I mean, like everything you could think of, all the cool toys, all the nice clothes. I had a whole bunch of stuff, but it was always getting stolen. Like it was always getting stolen. As soon as I fall asleep, boom, it was gone.
Yeah.
And like I come into recovery, like I still have everything I had when I came into recovery.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like I still have all of it, that it's all still there, and part of that's doing that inventory, you know what I'm saying? Where you go through and you start removing people, places and things.
That's right.
I had to leave a whole city. I knew a whole city was bad for me, and Dallas, I love Dallas. I love the North, always will. That's always going to, kind of be like my home away from home. But it was it's bad
it's
for me.
It's a trigger. Like when we went for Christmas, it was
by
the
man,
end of the week, man, I was like, we gotta go.
We were there for like 5 days, and at day 3 I was twitching. Right. I was like, I gotta get out of here,
we
man.
got to go.
And it's just because I couldn't go anywhere. My reputation preceded me everywhere I went, and it gets to the point to where it's like, how can I get better when everybody just looks at me as this person that I've been for so long? And when you're trying to change that image, and really, discover a new you got to
change it,
get rid of it. And I still see people coming into recovery and they have a hard time with it. Last night, a friend of mine was talking to me and he was talking about how he relapsed, and I was like, well, what was the conditions around it? You know what I mean? And he was like, well, I called this girl,
oh man,
from my past, and sure enough, blah blah blah, she had what I needed, and so I went and got it. I'm like, bro, you got to change your people, places, and things, man. Like, and when I came into recovery, I had thousands of phone numbers, thousands, and when I came into recovery, I deleted everybody. I put there was 8 people in my phone. It was like the shelter, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my wife. But I mean, it was 8 phone numbers. That was
Yeah.
it. Like I had it. I took everybody out for a long time, and because I knew they were no good for me. You know what I mean?
Well, and on a smaller scale, like you left Dallas and all the big things you were doing. Like I was in this little bitty town, little bitty podunk town that I grew up in, right? So everybody knew everybody,
Population 25.
right? Like maybe even, and every they knew me as I had to leave there. Like that's in 2019 I moved from there to here in Amarillo, and it was the best decision I made. Like I couldn't that was my bar. I knew where, I had my
Oh yeah.
bar, I had my people, I had my all these things, and I was never going to get any better. Like, and I knew that.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
knew that it was never going to change, was never going to get better. I would continue to fall back in. And so I took a huge risk, and I left my family behind, and I came by myself. Like, took every bit of money I had in savings or whatever I had, retirement, and moved.
Yep.
And started all over. And it was one of the best things that I ever did, because I'm not the same person I was in 2019, and I wouldn't have grown. There's no way I could have grown, Sean, the way that I've grown these last several years if I had stayed there, And I get triggered going back like you do for Dallas. Like you've seen me. Like
Yeah.
I start clenching that wheel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to run into somebody? Am I going to see, because they know me as a certain way, and how
Wild child.
right, I was, the way I live my life, and just, I'm just not that person anymore, and I don't want to be known as that person anymore. And I deleted people off of Facebook. I blocked people. I had to do all the same things, but it wasn't. So we have a lot in common, from what we've had to do, even though we come from 2 different worlds.
Right.
In this recovery, but it's I like the fact that we can, and that's something that I've learned in recovery, is like you find like-minded people. We have similar situations. We're not exactly the same, but you're going to find people that you click with, be like, oh, that reminds me of, this or that, and so
Well,
I had to do the same thing.
I think part of it is once you remove all the toxicities,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you start doing basically like the next right thing,
Right.
which is something I try to practice a lot, is just doing the next right thing.
Right.
Whether it's for me or for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
but when I practice that, I've really put good people in my life today.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
those healthy connections that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
I had all the bad connections.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But now I have people that not only will keep me accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But that are genuinely willing to help.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot I don't know. There's a whole lot I don't know.
Right.
I was, when I was living in the North, that's like a 12 block radius or maybe, 20 block radius.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go outside that radius for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
Unless I was going to do something really foul, And so I stayed in that comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was
same.
good in, at Vantage Point,
Mm-hmm.
VP.
Yeah.
Those of y'all from home, y'all know what I'm talking about. I was comfortable there. And everybody used to always ask me, like, bro, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is my zone, bro. Like, this is where, I know it's shady. I know it's crooked. I know somebody's getting whacked in the next room. Or, I know where all the drug dealers were. I mean, I knew all these things that were going on, and it did not bother me. I just got used to it.
Right.
So when you step out into that comfort zone, you're in such a world of fear and like doing an inventory and a gut check on, sometimes I would freeze up.
Yeah. I get that.
Sometimes I would freeze up and thank God I went to, another Chance House in Amarillo because those people there, and I have a lot of respect for those people because, like, when I went there, I was hardcore heroin addict. I was on the verge of death. You know, in a really bad situation, mentally, physically, spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
all the way around. And those people had absolutely no idea how to help me.
Yeah,
They just knew I needed help, and so, but they stuck beside me.
they sure
They
did.
walked with me every single day. They made sure I was okay every single day, and we learned it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we went through the process together of trying to rebuild me, and it took. I mean, I was there for about a little over a year.
Yes.
And but for that whole year, I mean, I didn't do anything. I stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't rush my healing. You know what I mean? I did some doctor's appointments. I figured out what was going on with me physically.
Mm-hmm.
I really learned where I was at mentally, and I was in a world I didn't know.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Boy, did you not.
I didn't know a normal life.
Right.
And the life that I had, I was never worried about having things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was one of those things where, like, I get something and I'd either cluck it off or lose it. But then I would get it back the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
So possessions and having things that I was proud of wasn't really something I really cared too much. Like, I didn't care too much about possessions. I didn't care too much about, like, my situation too much because, like, I could always change it 15 minutes later.
Right.
It was come and go, come and go, and come and go. When you're hustling out there in the streets, like, you lose it that quick, but you get it back that quick.
Mm-hmm. So coming into recovery was like a whole nother world for you. You were so out of your element, so out of context of what you knew and how to maneuver. So you have really done a lot of self reflection, self inventory,
tons,
healing in mentally, physically, and emotionally, spiritually, even. Like, you have come such a long way from what you came from to today. Like, it's and I say this, I know we've talked about it, but it's like it really starts resonating with me because it's like you really didn't know how to live a normal life
at all,
and I really didn't know how to live a life of crime
at all.
at all.
I started off at a real young age.
Mm-hmm.
I got into a very toxic relationship, and that was, like, the only constant
Mm-hmm.
that was in my life. Like, everything else was kind of in and out, in and out, in and out.
Right.
And I met a girl. It was my children's mother, but I met her, and she was kind of going through the same things.
Mm-hmm.
The same traumas. And we fed off each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we enabled each other, like, horribly.
Mm.
And we were extremely toxic for each other, but, like, it was the one constant thing that never changed.
Right.
You know what I mean? In our toxicity, we found comfort.
That's what I was going to say.
Because, like, we just fed off each other. You know what I mean? And we did that for years, and we really ran each other into the ground really bad.
Yeah, I hate that.
And I mean, I don't wish no ill will on her today.
No.
I hope she found happiness and is doing well. I just know that, like, I can't be around her. Like, I know that.
I mean, I have those people too.
That bridge is burnt, and
yeah.
I'm okay with that today.
Mm-hmm. But the growth that you have, the leaps and bounds that have happened for you, Sean, in recovery, like this, learning how to do self inventory, learning how to check yourself before you blow up, and all that you have come to know, it has brought you so much peace. Like, you're a totally different person than you ever started out when you got here.
I'm definitely less irrational, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I used to panic a lot.
Okay.
And so when I would panic, like, if I didn't have any money, or if I didn't have a place to stay, or if I didn't have my drugs,
Mm-hmm.
I would do a lot of irrational, I would just okay, I'll be back. And I
Right.
would go on a mission, and whatever happened in that mission is whatever happened.
Ugh.
And there's a wide range of what happened. In
So
that.
knowing what you knew then and knowing what you know now, which feels more comfortable to you now?
Oh, this definitely to have my own things, to actually know what unconditional love is,
Mm-hmm.
and have somebody who having you that sits beside me and really helps me walk through day to day, and having a healthy support system in place.
Yes.
It's and part of being able to have that learning environment around me
Mhm.
where I'm constantly learning new things. I'm
Constant.
constantly working with different people
Yes.
and getting different perspectives on this whole recovery thing and life in general. I've come a really long way.
You really have. And I want to commend you because,
But it's still scary because I still feel like I don't know nothing.
well,
You know,
I
like
don't feel like I know,
know
a lot
recovery.
either.
I know
Yeah,
recovery, but like outside of recovery, I don't know a whole lot.
but you are a strength in recovery where some of us, that's why I think we're such a good team, because I have some knowledge in places where you don't, and you have more knowledge in, like, you have made it your life's mission to really focus on recovery and like you've done things to improve yourself. You have gone through classes and educating yourself, researching all these things. Like, you know more about recovery than I do, and I've been in recovery longer than you, babe. Like, for real, like, you really know probably more than I do. And that's where we complement each other. And, like, we're basically learning together on how to approach this new peaceful life, And, man, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. I will say that, like, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else, but I just want to commend you because you have really, really put a lot of effort into that.
I think a lot of that comes from I know hopelessness.
Yes.
I know desperation.
Yes, you do.
Very well, and I also know that I want to save lives, and that most of the how you say it, I don't know how to say it. Like I know there's more things working against addicts than working for addicts.
Absolutely.
And there's more people that are willing to run an addict in the ground
Yes.
and destroy that person than there are people who genuinely just want to help and save others.
Absolutely.
We
have been very fortunate with, God has blessed us so much with putting people into our lives, one step at a time. It will get to a certain point, and then we veer off and we meet new people, and then we veer this way, and he's just guiding us, and to be able to create hope, spread hope and information and knowledge, and using all this that we've done that was not great to help someone else. I'm so truly grateful to God for that.
Well, and it's a double. It's not being selfish. It's actually being selfless, because when you come from a place like where I come from,
right?
You know what I'm saying? You don't see people doing positive things.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So what I've noticed is the more I focus on just improving myself, instead of proving myself to people,
right?
I had to
Yes.
get, and that's another thing I had to do an inventory on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to realize, like, I can't change the way people think.
It's really none of our business.
I can't prove myself to people because I can't. You know what I'm saying? Until people see things, they're not going to believe in it, and they're going to think the way they think.
That's right.
And the only thing I can do is focus on improving me on a daily basis. And when I started doing this whole Better Days Rain thing, there was a lot of people who didn't agree with it.
Right.
There was a lot of people that were throwing shade on it. And they would always come up to, people would ask me to be like, well, what are you going to do about this person saying this and this person saying that? And I'm like, I'm not going to do anything about it. I don't have to. As long as they're not going in my jaw, like, I'm not worried about it.
Right.
As long as they're
You
not
taught
messing.
me that about we don't have to prove ourselves to anybody anymore. We
And,
we
and,
live. We
and what's
live it.
funny is 6 months later, you know what I mean? Like,
Here we are.
all those people have nothing to say. And I see them every day on a daily basis, and none of them say anything.
No.
Because I've put action to
Behind our
improving
words.
myself,
That's right.
and to see how other people are following in my footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
To see how, like, people from my old hood, they hit me up and they're
Right.
like, bro, we love what you're doing, man. We watch all your videos, and it's really helping. And and all the time I'll get like these little Facebook friend requests of somebody that I cut off way back in the day. And they'll send me a friend request, and I actually even talked to a friend of mine that's still in prison not too long ago, and
Yeah.
he was giving me props. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's good. So
it's good to be able to influence people in a positive way,
absolutely.
and not be so like a destructive tornado
Yes.
through people's lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to actually have a sense of contribution.
Mhm.
That 25 years of drama and just addiction, that you can actually really flip it.
Absolutely.
You can flip it, and you can really do anything we want. Like, it can beat you down, and it can hold you in a state of
That's right.
turmoil, and you can have a very low quality of life, and you could really think really bad about yourself, or you could flip it around and take it as take it for what it is. You could do that inventory, reflect back on it, learn how to change it, and progress through life.
Absolutely. And that's your vision of Better Days Rain, was to spread hope, knowledge, understanding. And I climbed on board, and I was like, yeah, let's do this.
People building people, man. Like,
Oh, man. And I'm
um,
so grateful we did. Like, I'm proud of us, boo.
yeah, it's cool. Like, when you start doing the right things and people see it and others want to follow it, and it just starts creating hope down this whole, it's like a domino effect.
Absolutely.
And it spreads just like the disease of addiction. You can spread hope just
That's
like
right.
just like the disease.
We need more hope. We
know?
need a lot more hope than we do addiction.
And the support system that I have today is phenomenal. And just going back to those, daily inventories, my coach, he wants me to put up a vision board where I have to set up goals for Better Days
I got to
Rain.
Google vision boards.
But like, I need to do that on a daily scale, like my workout, my routine for the day,
Right.
the stuff I want to accomplish within a week, within a month, and really, put that plan into action.
Right.
And I'm not so good at that part, I'm not. I try to do as much as I can, but I still get overwhelmed at times.
Right.
And so, like,
and that'll get better, I think. The longer we like we were talking about earlier today, like this isn't just a one and done. This is a lifetime journey.
Oh, yeah.
Lifelong journey of learning, experiencing, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And with time, that overwhelming feelings and stuff will dissipate, I think. Over time.
I think so too. The more you learn about yourself,
absolutely.
Because there's certain areas where I'm still a little rocky, and like my anger. My anger still gets the best of me a little bit every now and then.
Right.
But other than that, I've pretty much toned down all my real compulsive behavior, except for coffee.
Coffee.
I drink coffee compulsively.
That's all he drinks is coffee.
But yeah, so self inventory, very important, and it's always good to be grateful.
Oh, I love to be
for what
grateful.
you have. I in my addiction, I wasn't grateful for anything that I ever had, and it's no wonder why I don't have any of it anymore. But everything I do have today, I'm very grateful for.
Me too.
And like, I hold that close to me. I hold that close to me. I hold everything that I have today close to me because it's mine. It's legit mine.
All right, right.
You
Didn't have to
know,
steal it. Didn't have to.
didn't have to do nothing foul for it. Didn't have to hurt nobody. Didn't have to,
Right.
do anything crazy. Like everything I had today, I worked hard for, and that's I'm grateful for that. I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I found recovery. I'm grateful that I found you. Grateful that
Aw.
Warrior Garden Studios found us.
Heck yeah. Whoop whoop. Big shout
And
out.
I think with that, we can wrap today up.
I'm good, boo.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you
And just
guys.
for everybody to know, Better Days Rain will be going up on YouTube. We have the merch store that is available. We'll try to get the link put on there at the end of this video. Big shout out to everybody who supports Better Days Rain and what we got going. And if you are in need of recovery or seeking some help in your recovery, questions, comments, concerns, like, share, please get the word out, y'all. We want to help. Please interact with us. Let us know how you feel. Let us know what you're going through. The more feedback we get, the more we can address certain topics to
Absolutely.
help out people. So we are very interested in what other people have to say and which direction we can go with this. With that, y'all have a beautiful weekend.
Bye.